So, folks, we are in a pretty scary time when it comes to the rhetoric coming out of the current administration. In the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, we're seeing a lot of threats of going after folks on the left, liberals in the establishment, academics, etc. There's been a wave of firings. There's people losing their jobs. People are being harassed. People are being threatened. People are being doxxed. It's not a great time, especially considering we're talking about folks in the government coordinating and leading some of these actions, right? And I just want to, before we go into this, because I know that this is going to be a worrisome segment for a lot of folks, I want you all to sit down and ask yourselves, are these the actions of an administration that is powerful? Or are these the actions of an administration that is desperate and knows that it's kind of like reaching some limitations? And I would argue it is the latter, right? Because when I look at what they're doing here, it is scary. And I don't mean to downplay the scariness of what's happening, but it does indicate to me a lack of institutional ability to do the scariest things. And I think that that is a good sign. So while we are talking about and are going to talk about some very scary stuff, I do want to preface all of that by saying I think these are the actions of desperate men. I think that they know that we, the people, have the ability to organize and to actually be able to defend ourselves and stand up for ourselves. And I think that these are the actions of people who are severely overplaying their hand when it comes to how much power they actually have versus how much power they wish they had. Okay? And I think that realization today helped me a lot. And I hope it helps you guys a lot too. Because I want to now turn to what happened earlier today, which is that the Charlie Kirk Show went live again. And on today's show, it was hosted by JD Vance. And it featured a wide variety of guests. It featured clips from Charlie Kirk's debates. And I wanted to play a couple of the segments from this show today because it's something. We're going to watch the introductory segment, his interview with Miller, and then the outro.
From every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not, you found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
Hey everybody, JD Vance here, live from my office in the White House complex and filling in for somebody who cannot be filled in for, but I'm going to try to do my best. My dear friend, the great Charlie Kirk. The last several days have been extremely hard for our country. They've been hard for me, hard for my family, hard for the countless.
It is absolutely insane to watch this. Like you're filling in for a talk show host, and you're broadcasting from the White House. Like, okay, again, the veneration that has been done to this propagandist, and make no mistake, like Charlie Kirk was a propaganda arm of like big oil folks. I forget which family it was. God.
JD Vance had to host from his office in the White House because nobody was going to let him near Charlie Kirk's furniture.
It's true. Knifeus Duck, thank you for the $5 dono. Oh, just like a handful of like folks funded specifically the Blexit arm. I'll look through this in a while. There are also some ties to the Koch brothers. I'll get you a better idea of it in the future.
People in this building who knew and loved Charlie Kirk, and of course, they've been hardest most of all for his darling wife, Erica, and their two beautiful children. The thing is, every single person in this building, we owe something to Charlie. He was a joyful warrior for our country. He loved America. He devoted himself tirelessly to making our country a better place. He was a critical part of getting Donald Trump elected as president, getting me elected as vice president. And so much of our success over the last 7 months is due to his efforts, his staffing, his support, and his friendship. I don't think that I'm alone in saying that Charlie was the smartest political operative I ever met. Everyone knew him as this fearless debater.
Can we like take a moment to be like, we're doing all this for someone you're openly admitting was a political operative? That's crazy.
If Trump does, they are so fucked. Riz black hole.
I mean, it's true. If Trump goes, like, this man has no charisma whatsoever.
Guy who would take the conservative message into hostile places and inspire younger generations to have courage. One thing that's hit a lot of those young Americans over the last week was how Charlie was there for them when others were not. When they were afraid to speak their minds, when they were afraid of what a professor would say, when they were afraid that they would be shouted down by their peers, Charlie was there, showing them that they could be courageous and that they could be bold. Charlie was a visionary. He was a luminary. He brought together people. He didn't just teach people how to speak. He didn't just teach people what to say. He didn't just teach people they could actually speak their mind on campus. He created a whole social network for an entire generation of young people. I know people who met their husband, who met their wife, who met the best man at their wedding at a TPUSA event. Because as you guys all know, it's not just about speaking our mind, it's about making friends along the way and creating that support network that won an election and that staffed the current federal government. I owe so much to Charlie.
That's really weird. It should be really bizarre that this organization is staffing the federal government. This unelected group of people, like, he's just going out there and saying it. It is bizarre. This entire endeavor is wild.
I've had friends reach out in just the last couple of days who sent me messages, screenshots that they exchanged with Charlie in the run-up to me getting selected by the president as his vice presidential running mate. And it's such an honor to have people show me that Charlie said, we want JD to be the VP nominee. And I just had a conversation with the president, and I think things are actually going well. I think he's actually going to choose JD Vance. Do you know what it means to me that such a good guy, such a good friend, such a lion and visionary of our movement was advocating for me? So I wanted to use this show.
Fun fact, everyone. A lot of folks don't know who the biggest donors to Turning Point USA were. It made $55 million in 2020, half of which came from 10 anonymous people.
Today, to advocate for Charlie, to talk about him, to talk about what kind of a guy he was, to talk about what kind of a man he was, what kind of a husband and father he was, and to take people, most of them from inside the administration, but some of them from without, who knew Charlie best, and to talk about what he meant to them, what he meant to this administration, and what he meant to the conservative movement. Now, I was very honored a couple of days ago on September the 11th, 2025, to fly out to Utah, where Charlie was shot and killed.
Well, we know Turning Point USA has dealings with the fossil fuel industry, with the Koch brothers. It's mostly just we don't know for sure because it accepts dark political money.
To meet his wife, to meet his mom and his dad, his sister, all just incredible people who didn't deserve to have this happen to them. And I was also honored to be able to take Charlie's remains from Utah to Arizona. It was an amazing, amazing thing. It was heartbreaking, and it was sad, and it was terrible. But what an honor it was for me and my family to be welcomed in to the Kirk Inner Circle at their moment of grief.
That's such a... dude, it's such a weird way of phrasing it. Like, it was an amazing thing to bring. Man, the vibes and like the emotional read on this entire thing is incredibly weird. it was so amazing to escort his corpse. Like, what, dude, what?
There are a few things that I want to talk about just from that moment. First of all, when I first met Erica, his lovely wife, and such an incredibly brave soul. I'm not sure if you saw her remarks after Charlie died. If you haven't, I would encourage you to go and see them, because you see this raw grief and incredible courage all in the same moment. And that's what we need right now. We need to grieve, but we also need this courage in this moment more than we've ever needed it. She gave me a hug, and she was heartbroken, as of course she would be. And she said that she loved him so much. And I said, Erica, he loved you so much. He died way too young, but he died a happy man because of you, because of the family that you gave him, because of the home and the life that you guys had built together. And we sat for about an hour and we talked about Charlie. And, you know, in these moments, you don't know what to say. I'm a person who literally speaks for a living, and I had no idea what to say. And I didn't try to console.
Oh man, JD Vance had no idea what to say. I can't. You mean this guy who just so smoothly orders donuts? Had no idea what to say in an even higher stakes social interaction? I'm shocked.
Because how can you console a person who just lost a loving husband and father? But we just talked about Charlie. We talked about who he was. We talked about some of our favorite stories. We talked about some of his idiosyncrasies and all the things that made Charlie Kirk who he was. And she said something to me that I will never forget. My wife was there. It was just me and my wife on my side, and then a lot of people from the Turning Point's family, a lot of people from Charlie's family. And she said to me that Charlie never raised his voice, that he never cussed at her, that he was never cross or mean-spirited to her. And look, I'm a husband. I'm proud of being a husband. I think that on the great balance of things that I'm a pretty good husband. But I can never say that I was never unpleasant with my wife. I can never say that I've never raised my voice to my wife. Like most husbands, even the good ones, we're sometimes imperfect. And
dude, you should not be hosting a show. Like I am very uncomfortable now.
I took for that moment.
You guys see what I mean when I say, like, if this guy was president, like, there's no way he'd be able to hold together the Republican coalition.
That I needed to be a better husband, and I needed to be a better father. Because of all these moments that I shared just in the last few days, the books that I've read to my kids, going up to their bedroom and kissing them and hugging them before bed, I just realized that all of these moments that I get to have, Charlie is not able to have them anymore. And Charlie's kids and his beautiful wife are not able to have them anymore. And maybe the best way that I can contribute and the best way that I can honor my dear friend is to be the best husband that I can be, to be the kind of husband to my wife that he was to his. You know, we talked all the time about the most important thing you could do is not vote for a particular candidate. It was to become, if you were a young man, a husband and a father. He talked about the joy that came from fatherhood, the joy that came from raising a family and being part of their growth and their development and all the incredible things that happen when you get to be a husband and father. And that is the way that I'm going to honor my friend, is to be the very best at that most important job that I can be. But that's not the only way that I'm going to honor Charlie. And there's going to be a lot of discussion over the next 2 hours of this radio program about what exactly that looks like.
Wait, I'm sorry. You think this is a radio program? JD, you're not old. You know what the internet is. You know this isn't a fucking radio show. You know that this isn't playing out over the phonographs of America.
It's important, and Erica asked me this, to make sure that his movement, the movement that Charlie started, has to keep going. We have to build upon it. We have to add to it. We have to make sure that the next generation of young people feels confident and courageous to speak their mind and to speak the truth. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why do we do this? Of course, we do this so that we can enact good public policy and take back our country. We're going to talk with senior officials in the administration about what we're trying to do to honor Charlie's legacy in that way. Of course, we have to make sure that the killer is brought to justice. And importantly, we have to talk about this incredibly destructive movement of left-wing extremism that has grown up over the last few years, and I believe is part of the reason why Charlie was killed by an assassin's bullet. We're going to talk about how to dismantle that and how to bring real unity that can only come when we tell the truth and everybody knows that they can speak their mind about the issues of the day.
we're gonna bring unity and truth and let everyone know that they can speak their mind, and we're gonna let them know that they can speak their mind by arresting them for saying the wrong thing. Like, Jesus, the vibes are so rancid. Also, there's literally no evidence that I have seen thus far, and I've been paying close attention, that the shooter was left wing. I haven't seen any of this evidence. I've seen evidence that indicates he was very connected with, like, Groyper culture, with, like, Nick Fuentes culture, but,
We have to make sure his assassin is brought to justice. But first, here's a word from our sponsor. Asterisk, 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 enlargement pills.
Oh, Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. Are they gonna run an AI ad of Charlie? Because Charlie was running AI ads of himself before his show, and periodically throughout his show. Are they gonna do that? Oh God, I hope not. I hope not.
Without being cut down by a murderer's gun. We're going to talk about all of those things with friends of Charlie, with people in the administration, with people that he knew. You know, on a podcast a couple of months back, Charlie was asked about how he'd want to be remembered if he died. His answer: I want to be remembered for courage, for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith, and that was Charlie. And in this dark moment for our country, I think that's the greatest lesson any of us can take from Charlie. To have faith in the Lord, and to be bold in how we glorify him. To be bold in our pursuits as Charlie was in his. So that's what we're going to spend a little bit of time doing this afternoon. Keeping this incredible show he created going, and hearing from some of the people who were so fortunate to call Charlie a friend. We're going to pay tribute to his courageous legacy, and we're going to commit to keep it forever alive. I'm looking forward to this. Join us.
Jesus. This really is their Reichstag fire. So, I think they really want it to be the Reichstag fire. I don't know if it's actually gonna... I don't know if they have the juice for it. You know? Like, I don't know that they can actually handle what they're doing here. And maybe we'll get to it here in a bit. We're gonna jump ahead to maybe the hardest portion of this to watch, which is, of course, with Stephen Miller. Just an absolute utter ghoul. So maybe we'll get to the point I want to make here. Yeah, that's kind of the thing, Lady Raincloud. They're really fucking stupid, and if the facts of the case aligned themselves in the way they want them to, they would be going 10 times harder on this. But I think they're kind of desperate, and I think they jumped the gun because they have initial reports that don't align with where they want this to go, and so they're trying to get ahead of it. That's my read. It's not, locked in stone or anything, but I don't think they're getting what they want out of this case, unfortunately. For them. Fortunately for us, unfortunately for them.
Vice President J.D. Vance. Joining me now is Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, dear friend of mine, and dear friend of Charlie Kirk's. And before I get into the nitty-gritty of what I want to talk with Stephen about, there's a lot of questions about the investigation, where we are in the investigation. I want to be respectful to the FBI's process, but just know that we are on top of this, and the entire administration is trying to do as much as possible to find everything that we can about what led to this, about how we got here, and of course, ultimately, how an assassin took Charlie's life. I wanted to zoom out with Stephen a little bit and talk about...
Stephen Miller really does look like an escaped war boy from, Mad Max, Fury Road. God.
About all of the ways that we're trying to figure out how to prevent this festering violence that you see on the far left from becoming even more and more mainstream. And before I do that, Stephen, I want to do this with every guest because you're a friend of Charlie's, and one of the things I'm hoping that people get out of this is
I do wonder if they have to choose the shots and angles when it comes to JD Vance that are not going to show him in frame with a couch. I bet that's a decision that they have to make around all of the PR appearances he makes, and I think that's really funny.
Understanding for the kind of guy that Charlie was, who he was. And so before I talk to you about what we're doing to try to prevent something like this from happening again, maybe you could just talk about why you love Charlie, what memories you have of him, something that would give our audience a sense of what he was behind the microphone.
I've known Charlie for 10 years. He was a treasured friend. And, this is going to sound, he made you believe more in yourself, is the best way I could put that.
That's right.
He was...
I'm sorry, wait, he knew you for 10 years? Oh my god. I mean, no wonder they got along so well. Like, I'm sure, like, Charlie loved everything that Stephen Miller stands for.
He made you believe more in yourself, is the best way I could put that.
That's right.
He was your biggest cheerleader. He would, if I was working on a hard project, an important executive order... No, T.I., that's giving Stephen Miller way too much credit. Stephen Miller is not a smart man. Stephen Miller is just, like, a hateful ideologue. Like, Stephen Miller is just, like, someone who is fueled completely and utterly by hatred. And, like, that's all he's got going for him. And he knows that. And he's just smart enough to be able to find a place where that kind of hatred is fostered. Major new initiative. He would give me the strength and the focus to get it done.
That's right.
He was everybody's supporter, enthusiast, cheerleader, promoter. He made all of us better every single day. The memory that I keep turning to is not a single memory. It's a period of a couple months.
I'm not gonna lie, there's something really uncanny about this photograph where it kind of looks like it's just 3 cardboard cutouts standing right next to each other. And I don't know how to put my finger on that. I don't know why it comes across like that to me, but like it looks really bad.
After we won the election, and Charlie was in the campaign or the transition office every single day, and from dawn till dusk, volunteering his time to get into the weeds, the nitty-gritty of government. And he was so damn excited. I mean, it really hurts to think about it right now. He was so excited about all of us being here. And we would be talking about every executive order, every new regulation, every new policy plan. It was such a thrill for me to get to spend a few months of my life, because he came from the nonprofit, the activist world. I came from the government world. And in this transition, to be able to work hand in hand, take all of his ideas from being the leader of TPUSA.
Man, you're getting real familiar with that hand motion there, Miller.
Spending time with college students, spending time with activists, and then be able to be with us at the transition to plan out the next step of our government. That was an experience for which I will always be grateful. And the last thing I'll say is that, to an earlier point, Charlie would send me messages all the time, just saying, great work, or here's a new idea, or here's what I think will take us to the next level. And I took them all to heart. And God, I just love the man so much.
He was our biggest supporter, Stephen, but he was also...
Oh my God, you're the fucking White House. How is your audio this bad? Also, I don't believe Stephen Miller gives a single shit about Charlie Kirk. Like, a single goddamn shit. He has the emotive capacity of a rock, and even I just don't believe him.
Agreed. He would figure out how to get us to get where he wanted us to go. He's always such a big cheerleader. Absolutely right. The darkest moments of my life, it was Charlie who was on the phone saying, don't let him get to you. Keep on fighting. Keep on going. You're absolutely right. So I want to be mindful of time here. A lot of people are very worried about how we got here in the first place. And you have the crazies on the far left who are saying, oh, Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance, they're going to go after constitutionally protected speech. No. We're going to go after the NGO network that foments, facilitates, and engages in violence. That's not okay. Violence.
Wait, what NGO network are you talking about that's engaging in violence? No. We're not going after constitutionally protected speech. We're going after the NGOs that are funding violence. What NGO funded this assassination, man? Come on, be specific.
Is not okay in our system, and we want to make it less likely that happens. Walk me through, at a high level, like what you and I have been working on, what the whole administration has been working on to try to make sure that we don't reward and promote this craziness.
So it's an excellent question. I said this before, but it bears repeating. The last message that Charlie sent me was, I think it was just the day before we lost him.
Hey Jack, remind me again why the Vice President of the United States is interviewing the main villain from 50 Days of Night.
Hey now.
Thanks in advance.
Hey now. Hey, now that's not just the main villain from 50 Days of Night. It's also like one of the throwaway monsters from Dusk Till Dawn. Thank you for the $5 dono, Knifius Deck.
Which is that we need to have an organized strategy to go after the left-wing organizations that are promoting violence in this country. And
like what?
I will write those words onto my heart, and I will carry them out. If people ask me, what emotions I'm feeling right now, this is something people say. I mean, you kind of know the answer. There's incredible sadness, but there's incredible anger. And the thing about anger is that unfocused anger or blind rage is not a productive emotion.
Right.
But focused anger, righteous anger, directed for a just cause is one of the most important agents of change in human history.
Charlie showed that. Amen.
And we are going to channel all of the anger that we have over the organized campaign that led to this assassination to uproot and dismantle these terrorist networks. So
What organized campaign that led to the assassination? The assassin was a conservative.
Explain a little bit what that means. So,
I've got 30 seconds, so be quick, Stephen.
The organized doxing campaigns, the organized riots, the organized...
You got my brother in Christ. Your team is doing the doxing right now. There's literally a website called Charlie Kirk's Murderers that rebranded to like the Charlie Kirk Data Foundation that is compiling doxing lists and like was publicly posting it. Elon Musk, like just a couple days ago, retweeted a list of like 66 random people with their full information. Like, are you going after Elon Musk? Like, what does that mean? What organizations are doing doxing campaigns that are funded?
Street violence, the organized campaigns of dehumanization, vilification, posting people's addresses, combining that with messaging that's designed to trigger and incite violence, and the actual organized cells that carry out and facilitate the violence. It is a vast domestic terror movement. And with God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people. It will happen, and we will do it in Charlie's name.
Thank you, Stephen. Don't go away. I'll be joined by a guest of Friends just in a few seconds.
What an absolute ghoul, just like a little weaselly ghoul man. I would say a trash man, but like that does a disservice to actual trash men and trash women and trash people. Okay, they do a vital service. Unlike Stephen Miller, who, I don't know, I guess creates carbon dioxide for trees to breathe. That is his most valuable contribution to society.
Hold on, that was Stephen Miller? I thought that was Stephen Merchant as Caliban in the movie Logan.
Well done, Knifius Duck.
See you soon.
Oh, right. Yeah, we have to skip ahead here. I don't feel the need to, like, watch these chuckle fucks talk to each other, or, like, the press secretary to go on. I also don't really feel the need for Tucker Carlson, or RFK Jr., or Susie Wiles. Like, who gives a fuck about Susie Wiles? But we are going to watch the closing bit of this.
George Soros's Open Society Foundation funds this magazine.
Oh boy. Well, okay. I guess we need to back that one up a little bit.
Shortly after Usha and I left Charlie's family and Charlie's remains in Arizona, I read a story in The Nation magazine about my dear friend Charlie Kirk. Now, The Nation isn't a fringe blog. It's a well-funded, well-respected magazine whose publishing history goes back to the American Civil War. George Soros's Open Society Foundation funds this magazine, as does the Ford Foundation and many other wealthy titans of the American progressive movement. The writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words. He made an argument against affirmative action as a policy. He criticized a specific Supreme Court justice as an individual. He never said anything about black women as a group. He made an argument for judging people of all races and backgrounds by their own individual merits. The very evidence she provides This hack of a writer shows that she lied about a dead man, and yet she wrote it. An esteemed magazine published it. It made it through the editors, and of course, liberal billionaires rewarded that attack.
Action picks. We would Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks. We would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 52.
But I rise today as a clear recipient of affirmative action, and particularly in higher education. I may have been admitted on affirmative action, both in terms of being a woman and a woman of color, but I can declare that I did not graduate on affirmative action. This is my personal story.
I hear because of action affirmative. She can't even say that. We know. It's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own. I couldn't make it on my own, so I needed to take opportunities from someone more deserving. You know, this is how arrogant Joy Reid and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee are. They're so narcissistic, they think this is persuasive. They think we're like, oh, of course, that's why we need affirmative action, because you have impressed us with your brilliance. Of course. Oh no, imagine the world without Joy Reid. Imagine the world without Sheila Jackson Lee or Michelle Obama or Ketanji Brown Jackson. They think this is persuasive. They think as they kind of now reveal that I'm only here because of anti-white, anti-Asian forced discrimination policies. That turned me into a bitter, resentful activist that hates white people, honestly, through our politics.
Ooh, that was loud. But I'm also going to just throw out there, it's not what J.D. Vance just described. Because he threw in another line in there about stealing the jobs from white people. Because the implication here is that these black women don't have the mental capacity to compete against white men for these jobs. And therefore, their presence stole jobs from equally qualified white people. Or, sorry, more qualified white people. That's Charlie Kirk's formulation. Now, J.D. Vance is trying to say, well, no. He wasn't saying that about all black people, just these particular ones. But, like, the formulation, even just about these particular ones, that's still racist. Like, if you're racist against just a specific
Almost
black
like
person, it's
trusting
still
these
racism.
individuals with a random chance of a gacha was a la boo-boo.
Uh-huh. If you're racist against one specific black person, you're still being racist.
Now, of course, even if Charlie had uttered those words, it wouldn't mean that he deserved his fate. But consider the level of propaganda at work. Charlie was gunned.
Well, yeah, but like the point of the article that you're talking about is not that Charlie Kirk deserved to get gunned down. It's that certain groups of people aren't going to be sad en masse. And no one fucking owes you tears at your funeral, dude. No one. Literally no one owes you that.
Down in broad daylight, and well-funded institutions of the left lied about what he said so as to justify his murder.
And, you know, I feel pretty good that we just came off 4 hours of listening to the things that Charlie Kirk said and believed in order to, in his own words, in order to arrive at what he actually did believe. None of this justifies his assassination, and almost none. I can't say 100%, but I would say 99.9% of the people out there who are talking about the things that Charlie Kirk said and believed are not saying these things to say it justifies his assassination. But we need to be able to look at the man in the sober light of truth without trying to, like, score these ideological points. And the truth is, he was virulently bigoted. Even in the clip that JD Vance is trying to downplay, multiple times he talks about, like, how, oh, they just hate white people and they are stealing jobs from the poor whites. Like, okay. We understand where you're coming from, JD. Anyone who watched Charlie Kirk's show knows where you're coming from if they remember that particular clip.
This is soulless and evil. But I was struck not just by the dishonesty of this smear.
By the way, just as an FYI, the President of the United States ordered a strike on another boat in the Caribbean, and I'm sorry, even if they were smuggling drugs, that is not a crime with a death sentence. The drugs don't justify murdering an entire boatload of people. But that's the second time he's done that.
But by the glee over a young husband's and young father's death. Quote, she says, he was an unrepentant racist, transphobe, homophobe, and misogynist.
Those are all true. Those are all true. We've watched clip after clip of each one of those being validated time and time again.
The Nation wrote, who often wrapped his bigotry in Bible verses because there was no other way to pretend that it was morally correct. He had children, as do many vile people. That's what they said. He had children, as do many vile people.
Yeah, that's true. Bad people also have children sometimes. Like, I don't know how to, like, explain this to you folks, but, like, y'all know, like, members of the Ku Klux Klan had kids, right? Doesn't make them good people.
Now, hours before this smear was published, my wife and I had the honor of escorting Charlie's body back to his home in Arizona. We took his wife, Erica, we love you, his parents, his sister, and a few of his best friends with us. And as they offloaded Charlie's casket from Air Force Two, I worried that Erica would collapse with grief. Now, I'm a very lucky husband to a very wonderful wife, but I have never been prouder of my wife than that moment as she held Erica in Erica's very darkest hour. And I thought of Erica as I read that disgusting attack on Charlie. He had children, as do many vile people.
That's not an attack. That is a descriptor. And it's true. Osama bin Laden had children. Does that make him a saint? He had a lot of kids, actually. Does that make him a saint? No. It doesn't. Does having children absolve you of a lifetime of bigotry? No.
That's what they said about him. I said the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I asked Usha what Erica had said to her earlier in the day in a private moment, and I asked Erica's permission to share this. My wife told me, she asked me for advice. Erica asked me for advice on how she should tell her children that their father had been murdered. She asked my wife how to tell her beautiful kids that their father and my dear, very dear friend is no longer with us. And as she was doing it, there were people dancing on that father's grave.
Nah, dude. I don't think people accurately describing Charlie Kirk is the same as actively celebrating his death. These are two different things. Conflating them is very dangerous. And I think that, frankly, he knows that. And he's doing this specifically because he wants to broaden the field of targets for what inevitably is going to be a political persecution of J.D. Vance and, by extension, the Trump administration's political enemies.
Now, I have heard many calls in the last few days for unity and for healing in the wake of Charlie's assassination. You have no idea how desperately I want that, how gratified I was when Democratic friends and even former Senate colleagues reached out to offer their condolences to me. I'm so thankful. And I know there are so many like them all across our great country. I am desperate to wrap my arms around them as we all unite to condemn political violence and the ideas that cause it. Psalm 133 tells us, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head." Oh, how badly have I craved that precious ointment in recent days, and I believe we can have it. But first, we must tell the truth. It's the only way to honor Charlie, for what was he, if not a man who told the truth in every place, in every environment? Now, the most important truth Charlie told is this, that long ago...
This feels so hollow. Yeah, it's because J.D. Vance has no riz. Like, he's just like... It's like someone wound up like a gear in him, and, you know, the Nazi gear, and he's just like going through the motions. Like, he's not a true believer. He doesn't believe any of this shit. He doesn't care. And I just... What's been painfully obvious to me about J.D. Vance for a long time is that he's just in it for the money. Like, he's been a Peter Thiel guy through and through from the very beginning. He was an investment bro. Like, I know he likes to cosplay as like a working class guy, but like, he went to Ivy League schools. He's an investor bro. He's from venture capital, from like the same people who are like buying up all of like the single family homes in America to rent them back to us at exorbitant prices. You know? He's one of those guys, and he's in the pocket of Peter Thiel, one of the richest people in the world, who is now making even more money off of ludicrously lucrative government contracts. And like, his entire thing is he doesn't want this gravy train to end. And so if he has to use Charlie Kirk's death in order to like make that happen, he will. But that doesn't mean he's good at trying to use Charlie Kirk's death. He's painfully aware of how anti-human he comes across. I don't know. I'm just throwing this in there.
Fucker! You gonna fucking couch, buddy? Do not go past.
You're telling me with that face, he wasn't a billionaire playboy.
Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs.
J.D. Vance, go fuck the couch! Oh, look! It's couch fucker! You gonna fuck a couch, buddy?
You gonna fuck a couch, buddy? I mean, like, that's the vibes, you know? That's an insult that actually lands with this guy. He doesn't care about the things he has to do or say, but he does care that that's how he comes across to people, you know?
Long ago, a man, begotten, not made, came down from heaven, and by the Holy Spirit was incarnate of the Virgin Mary and became man. For our sake, he was crucified under Pontius Pilate and suffered death and was buried and rose again on the 3rd day. Charlie believed, as I do, that all the truth he told flowed from that fundamental principle. I really do believe that we can come together in this country. I believe we must. But unity Real unity can be found only after climbing the mountain of truth. And there are difficult truths we must confront in our country. One truth is that 24% of self-described, quote, very liberals believe it is acceptable to be happy about the death of a political opponent, while only 3% of self-described very conservatives agree. 3% is too many, of course.
Nah, I'm sorry. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Are you kidding me? Like, Charlie Kirk was like talking about getting the guy who was who caused like brain damage to Paul Pelosi out of prison. He's giggling about it. The entire conservative influencer sphere was giggling about how teehee, the guy who was gonna assassinate Nancy Pelosi and like permanently damaged her husband, like was actually his gay lover. Ha ha ha. They thought it was funny. Like, I'm sorry. These people would celebrate in the streets if Hillary Clinton died tomorrow. They laugh about like dudes choking people to death on subways. Specifically choking black people to death on subways. Like, if like Obama died, they would throw parties in the streets.
Another truth is that 26% of young liberals believe political violence is sometimes justified. And only 7.
Let's see. Where are you getting your stats from, man? Most Americans say political violence is a very big problem or somewhat of a problem. By quite a bit, actually. So 87%. That's pretty big. Let's see here. Democrats and Republicans are more likely to say political violence is a big problem after attacks on members of their own party. You know what's really interesting, though? Asked after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, 58% of Democrats said it was a big problem. Asked after the assassination of Melissa Hortman, who's a Democratic lawmaker in Minnesota, 56%. More people, more Democrats, a larger portion of Democrats thought political violence was a big problem after the assassination of Charlie Kirk versus after the assassination of a Democratic lawmaker. After the attack on Paul Pelosi, only 31% of Republicans thought that political violence is a big problem. Like, that's nuts. Most Americans say it's unacceptable to be happy about political figures' deaths, but younger and more liberal Americans are more likely to call it acceptable. That's interesting. Now, I do always wonder, what do they mean when they, like, who are they interviewing for very liberal and who are they interviewing for very conservative? Because I've been on the internet long enough to know that very, very conservative folks tend to be very in favor of violence. They just don't answer that on surveys. But, that being said, I have to hand it to JD Vance. He did accurately summarize that poll.
7% of young conservatives say the same. Again, too high a number. In a country of 330 million people, you can of course find one person of a given political persuasion justifying this or that or almost anything. But the data is clear. People on the left are much likelier to defend and celebrate political violence. This is not...
Yeah, well, let's be clear here. Thinking that political violence is sometimes justified and also thinking that it's okay to be happy when one of your political enemies dies. I think these are different than, like, actively engaging in political violence. And when it comes to actively engaging in political violence, we know from decade upon decade upon decade of FBI statistics that far-right, white nationalist violence in this country is the number one threat to our domestic security. It is the most likely kind of political violence.
a both sides problem. If both sides have a problem, one side has a much bigger and malignant problem, and that is the truth we must be told. That problem has terrible consequences. The leader of our party, Donald J. Trump, escaped an assassin's bullet by less than an inch. Our House Majority Leader, Stephen Scalise, came within seconds of death by an assassin himself. And now, the most influential conservative activist in generations, our friend Charlie, has been murdered. This violence, it doesn't come from nowhere. Now, any political movement, violent or not violent, is a collection of forces. It's like a pyramid that stacks on top, one support on top of the other. That pyramid's got a foundation of donors, of activists, of journalists, now of social media influencers, and of course of politicians. Not every member of that pyramid would commit a murder. In fact, over 99% I'm sure would not. But by celebrating that murder, apologizing for it, and emphasizing not Charlie's innocence, but the fact that he said things some didn't like, even to the point of lying about what he actually said, many of these people are creating an environment where things like this are inevitably going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think pointing out the things he said is creating that. I think maybe it might be if just quoting the things he said and saying, I dislike that and I think that that's racist, bigoted, etc. If just doing that is making the world an unsafe space, then perhaps it's the words that he said, man.
A couple of months ago, I headlined a fundraiser in Southern California, and since, we'd be out there anyways, my wife and I decided to take our kids to Disneyland one weekend. We had fun, and to be clear, most of the guests said very nice things, or they just left us alone. But there was a loud and very vocal minority that would shout at my children, who were 8, 5, and 3, whenever they got the opportunity. "You should disown your dad, you little shit," one middle-aged woman yelled at my 5-year-old. "Tell the Secret Service to protect the Constitution, not your father," screamed another. Are these women violent? Probably not. Are they deranged? Certainly. And while our side of the aisle certainly has its crazies, it is a statistical fact that most of the lunatics in American politics today are proud members of the far left. After Charlie died, one of his friends and one of our senior White House staffers had left-leaning operatives in his neighborhood passing out leaflets telling people what he looked like and where he lived, encouraging neighbors to harass him or, God forbid, to do worse. While he was mourning his...
Now, just want to throw this out there. This is from a study titled Far Left versus Far Right Fatal Violence, an empirical assessment of the prevalence of ideologically motivated homicides in the United States. This was published August 1st of 2021. And, well, let's take a look here at this fun little graph compiled by the folks doing the study. Figure 1, ideologically motivated homicide incidents in the United States from 1990 to 2020. And as you can see, consistently through almost the entirety of all that time, the far right has had quite a lead on the far left in terms of homicide incidents. And then we have, except for one spike in like 2017, then we have figure 2, ideologically motivated homicide victims in the United States, 1990 to 2020. And that is almost entirely, again, far right. And the conclusion of this paper is that far right violent extremism is still one of the greatest, and by far greater than far left extremism, threats to the United States security. Or the security of the United States, rather. So, J.D. Vance, again, this is all just fabrication in order to create a pretext. Yeah, a lot of it is conservatives killing conservatives when it comes to these incidents. And not only that, that's what's happening right now. What's happening right now with this whole incident with Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Dead friend, he and his wife had to worry about the political terrorists drawing a big target on the home he shares with his young children. Are these people violent? I hope not. But are they guilty of encouraging violence? You damn well better believe it. We can thank God that most Democrats don't share these attitudes, and I do, while acknowledging that something has gone very wrong with a lunatic fringe, a minority, but a growing and powerful minority on the far left. There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagree. Did you know that the George Soros Open Society Foundation and the Ford Foundation, the groups who funded that disgusting article justifying Charlie's death, do you know they benefit from generous tax treatment? They are literally subsidized by you and me, the American taxpayer. And how do they reward us? By setting fire to the house built by the American family over 250 years. I am desperate for our country to be united in condemnation of the actions and the ideas that killed my friend. I want it so
badly, which is why I'm screaming about how there can be no unity.
So badly that I will tell you a difficult truth. We can only have it with people who acknowledge that political violence is unacceptable, and when we work to dismantle the institutions that promote violence and terrorism in our own country.
You know what? And on this point, I agree. I agree with JD Vance. We must work to dismantle these networks that have built up an apparatus to enact violence upon the American people and upon people of other nations. We have a rogue president who is bombing civilians for no reason in the Caribbean. That must be stopped. We have a government that is hell-bent on defunding Medicaid, immiserating tens of millions of people, potentially killing up to like 15,000 people every year for no reason other than to make rich people richer. This is political violence. When we look at the suffering caused, the number of people who are going to lose their homes, when we look at the number of people who are going to lose their health care, the number of people who are going to suffer and die, that is also political violence. And I agree that violence needs to be put to an end. JD Vance, why are you supporting political violence at this very moment? And not political violence against one or two people. You're supporting political violence against tens of millions of people in this country. Tens of millions. You are supporting deploying the U.S. military onto U.S. streets. This is political violence. You are supporting the disappearances of U.S. citizens on the mere suspicion that they might be doing something illegal. This is political violence. You are disappearing people at the barrel of a gun. This is political violence. And yes, assassinations are also political violence. And I agree. We need to put a stop to assassinations. The same way we need to put a stop to the mass suffering and infliction of violence that JD Vance and the Republican Party are currently championing. But something tells me that JD Vance is actually very okay with political violence. And something tells me that these Republicans that are currently in power are very okay with political violence, as long as it doesn't hurt one of the people they like.
Now, our government, you heard me talk to Stephen Miller about this, will be working very hard to do exactly that in the months to come. We're not always going to get it right. We will sometimes move more slowly than you would like. We will sometimes move more slowly than I want us to. But I promise you that we will explore every option to bring real unity to our country and stop those who would kill their fellow Americans because they don't like what they say. But you have a role too. Civil society, Charlie understood this well.
Also, I'm sorry, just...
And stop those who would kill their fellow Americans because they don't like what they say.
Why are you supporting, like, political retribution against people from the US government because you don't like what they say? Like, you might not like that people aren't mourning Charlie Kirk sufficiently. You might not like that some people are happy that Charlie Kirk is gone. But, like, they have a right to feel that way and express it, as long as they are not making explicit threats. And the government cannot punish speech like that. It simply can't. So you're kind of put into a little bit of a bind, aren't you, buddy?
But you have a role too. Civil society, Charlie understood this well, is not just something that flows from the government. It flows from each and every one of us. It flows from all of us. So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer. We don't believe in political violence, but we do believe in civility. And there is no civility in the celebration of political assassination. Get involved. Get involved. Get involved. It's the best way to honor Charlie's legacy. Start a chapter of TPUSA or get involved in the one that already exists. If you're older, volunteer for your local party, write an op-ed in your local paper, run for office. I can't promise you this is going to be easy. I can't promise you that all of us will avoid Charlie's fate. I can't promise you that I will avoid Charlie's fate. But the best way to honor him is to shine the light of truth like a torch in the very darkest places. Go do it.
Go dox them. Go, like, get them fired from their jobs. This is what I meant, by the way, when I started this segment and I said, this is not the action of a government that is operating from a place of strength. This is weakness, actually. This is him basically acknowledging the limits, the constitutional limits upon his power. And I know that what he just said is very alarming, but that's why he needs to look into the camera and say, hey, you all need to do this job for the government. They are trying to fabricate this into a Reichstag fire moment to kickstart like a fascist movement, an even more explicitly fascist movement with the support of the public, because they, as the government, have their hands tied when it comes to what they can do about the speech they don't like. And so they are relying on a brown shirt movement of cyber sleuths and, folks who are going to mask up and go door to door. That's what they're trying to do here. I think that this is a particularly weak time for them. And I think that that's good for us. Because I gotta tell you guys, if you heard something there about them getting organized, the best way to defend yourself and the best way to defend the people you love is to get even more organized. To go to those meetings, whether you attend in person or online, to go to your city council meetings, to figure out how your local government works, figure out the local groups that are active in your political scene, and figure out how to get organized. Organize with your local Dems if you can, organize with your local DSA if you can, whatever groups you gravitate towards, organize. Because these people are trying to organize against you, and if you are all alone, that will make you more vulnerable if they try to come for you. Okay? Yeah, Ret Negative, they're all going to be masking up to keep you safe from COVID. That's exactly what I meant. Y'all need to step up a little bit. Because these people are going to try. That's the thing. They might not be operating from a place of strength, but they are attempting to have their Reichstag fire moment. And the more organized you are and the more organized you can be in your communities, the better chance you have to keep you and yours safe. And if you guys need help joining your local Dems or your local DSA, join our Discord. Join our Discord, ! Discord in any of the chats. And you can reach out to Dragonfly to help you get in touch with your local Dems. Because I know sometimes it can be tricky to find where they meet or what they're up to. in your neck of the woods. And if you are interested in joining DSA, again, join our Discord and then reach out to Gamergy, and she will be more than happy to help you get connected with your local DSA or even start your own local chapter. And if you don't feel comfortable organizing with either of those, look around you. Who are you comfortable organizing with? Is it the local, homeless shelter, the local soup kitchen? Like, figure it out. Is it, if you're religious, is it your local church or synagogue? Like, figure it out. Make it work.
Joined DSA.
You're Ascended Kitten. Thank you for joining DSA, and thank you for the $5 dono. It really means a lot. Thank you. So, that's where we're at when it comes to this. Because these people are getting organized, or they're trying to.
We owe it to our friend to ensure that his killer is not just prosecuted but punished. And the worst punishment is not the death penalty, but the knowledge that Charlie's mission continues after he's gone. St. Paul tells us in the book of Ephesians to put on the full armor of God. Let all of us put on that armor and commit ourselves to that cause for which Charlie gave his life, to rebuild a united States of America, and to do it by telling the truth.
We need to build a United States of America by kicking the shit out of everyone who disagrees with us. We're gonna get you. Like that's crazy. Like you can't end with a call to unity like that after the anti-unity speech. Fuck you. But anyway, after all this was over, JD Vance had to fuck more than a few couch cushions. We're gonna be stuck with him? Maybe. We'll see. But, yeah. It's a scary time, for sure. I would suggest, folks, make sure you have, like, a next step plan if, you are feeling vulnerable or unsafe in your neighborhoods or cities or states. And, yeah, it's, have a plan to get someplace safe. I don't know what that plan is for each individual situation you guys might be in, but have a backup plan if things go tits up. Because these people intend to put a lot of tits up. So, that being said, organizing is the best defense we have, and I do truly mean that. If you enjoyed that video, like, comment, and subscribe! It's always the worst way to end this. God.
Riverboat deck is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack.